Jacobs, the Balance Doctor. Thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of The Kim Jacobs Show. Be sure to subscribe to The Kim Jacobs Show right on YouTube. Turn on your notification bell to all so you never miss a beat. And guess what? Every time you watch, you're going to receive a real relevant and relatable guest that's going to share with you a piece of the puzzle on this journey called life that will help you be able to manage just a little bit smoother. At the end of the day, the Kim Jacobs Show goal is to be able to provide balance to the world, one household at a time.
Kim Jacobs Show. You're watching Kim Jacobs Show.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to this episode of The Kim Jacobs Show. And today I have with me Vanessa Mathews. How are you today?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm doing great. And I already complimented your necklace. I didn't even know, I was going to be meeting up with the necklace queen today here on The Kim Jacobs Show. You look so beautiful over there, and I love your necklace. Love it.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
I'm excited to have you here. And I know we talked a little bit last evening, and I told you, hey, we're going to have just a conversation and relax and let people join in. They can ask questions if they want, but it's really just a relaxing experience. And my desire as a show host and our team's desire is to be able to bring balance to the world, one household at a time. And by bringing guests on like yourself, we get the opportunity to do just that. So thank you for helping us accomplish our mission here.
Absolutely.
All right, so everybody listen, grab your virtual seats right quick. We're talking today with Vanessa Mathews, and we're going to be talking about managing the racial wealth gap. Oh, you know what? I definitely should. I'm going to definitely tag some people from Pride Magazine because they had a whole great wealth debate competition, and there was some really good stuff that happened in that debate. But when we do our quick 30-second break to let everybody know that you're going to be inviting your friends and family in, then I'm going to tag some people too. So everybody, let's take 30 seconds now. That gives us a chance to at least invite about 10 or 20 more people, depending upon how fast your fingers can work, into today's discussion. Is everybody okay with that? Nobody's going to say yes because they don't.
Yes.
We're not on there. So are you talking to Vanessa? Are you talking to Cassandra? Who are you talking to? I'm talking to you in the studio audience. Are you ready to go ahead and tag somebody? I see you, Kimberly. And so make sure you go ahead and tag somebody right now. We're going to take 30 seconds to do that. And we're going to come back and we're going to deep dive into this discussion about the racial wealth gap. What's your philosophy on it? What are your thoughts? Do you even believe there is a racial gap? Tell us your thoughts and chime in on it. All right, let's roll. Uh-oh, what's happening? This is crazy. I got 3 people tagged. That's what I'm saying. Do you feel this is like ridiculous when it's a 30-second countdown and it goes that quick?
Well, when you think about all the people, it's like, oh, how do I do this quickly? I know more people than what I thought I did.
I know. I mean, all kinds of names are coming up, and I'm like, no, I want to just like copy and paste and say all of them. I want all of you guys on. So anyway, all right. So therefore, I didn't get to tag as many people as I wanted. So you'll have to just tell your friends and family. Let's go ahead and get started in today's topic. Vanessa Mathews is resilience and crisis management leader. She's a business leader and she's a speaker. She's a catalyst for change in the world of business and entrepreneurship. And she has a passion specifically for women and the Black community and highlighting the systemic challenges that minority professionals face in the public and private sectors. We're going to deep dive into that, so I'm not going to read everything that's on her bio here. But Vanessa Vaughn Mathews has been one of the front lines of the crisis management and business resilience professions throughout her career. And she's the founder and chief resilient officer at, is it Asphalis?
Asphalis Advisors.
Woo-hoo, I got some Asphalis Advisors. That's a whole... You know what, that right there make you start speaking in tongues when you're trying to say all of this stuff. I'm like, resilience and crisis management, as well as then you like, you know what? Okay, as well as advisors. the co-owner and host of Business Resilience Decoded podcast. Please welcome Vanessa Mathews to the Kim Jacobs Show. Glad to have you today.
Hey. I'm excited.
All right, so let's go ahead. Take us back, first of all, and tell us anything about yourself that would give us an idea of where you kind of came from. What's your background? What even made you interested in this whole field?
Yeah. So I'm originally from Virginia Beach, Virginia.
I didn't know that. I'm from Newport News. Okay, I don't mean to cut you off, but hey,
But my family's from Newport News.
757. You know what? Cassandra's like, oh Lord, here she goes. She did like this. And Cassandra said, we'll put you on the screen. You keep doing that. If you do that, I'll get on pop you on the screen. Because she was
It's
like,
a small
here we
world.
go. She's backstage like this. You know, Cassandra, believe it or not, that makes the show entertaining too, to be able to pop you on periodically. Because you're doing some dramatic stuff back there judging me. But I do have to put 7-5.
Right. 7 cities. Okay.
So I'm from Newport News, and I'm quite proud to be from that area. So anybody that knows me knows that I rep my community all the time. I love where I grew up. Go ahead, carry on.
I love that. Well, okay. So background, since you understand that, I started actually playing basketball, and I just knew I was going to be a Cheryl Swoops. My dad and my mom, they were like, she's going to the league. And that didn't happen. But my mom
made it not happen? So did something happen that prevented it from happening?
I just focused my attention more on school and academics versus sports and athletics. But my parents actually met while my mom was a student at Hampton University, the real HU.
Love your family. I love the people. Go ahead. Hey, mom and dad, y'all on here watching? Go ahead.
My dad was actually at the time working on scallop boats in the ocean. So he would go out and get your scallops and bring it back to sea. So he met my mom there. She's originally from
scallops?
Yes, scallops.
You know what? We have a lifelong bond at this point, because everything you're saying, a component of your story matches like mine. So I used to pick crabs, right?
Oh, wow.
And I literally you had to de-shell the crab, and I would get 25 cents for each one that I cracked perfectly. So when I became a mom and everything, they were like, how do you know how to do that? I was like, I have skills.
Yeah.
I got skills, because I can crack a crab, and that thing had all of the meat coming out of there. It's like to perfection. Carry on, scallops. Your dad is a scallop man. Your mom is a Hampton University person. Okay, Cassandra, I'm popping you in. That's it. That's it. I have to pop you in because you're like there enjoying yourself.
It's too good to be true. So that's kind of how I was raised. I'm an only child, so I grew up talking to myself. I grew up, if something's wrong, it is your fault because you are the only one here to blame.
You know what? Because I'm not an only child, I never thought about it. I know my friend Sean would be like, please say that, because she has a whole conversation with herself. I'm gonna tag her I'm gonna tag her too, because she's like, people don't understand when you're an only child.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like y'all in your own world. I don't know what's happening over there. So you talk to yourself. Give us an example of something you would say to yourself.
Hey girl, how you doing? Vanessa, no, put that down. No, we can't go there. Stop it. Just
you have your whole conversation. Just regular.
Yes. Even now.
Okay. I do that too, but I do it very intentionally, not because I was a single child and I was like trying to have a conversation with somebody else that really wasn't there, right?
I remember playing dolls by myself and just like sitting up with all my Barbies, and I would just talk, and my parents would sit downstairs and listen, and like, she is talking to herself. I didn't have
loud, right?
Loud too.
Were they ever concerned about that?
I don't think so, because they kept me in a whole lot of sports. So although I didn't ultimately go to play basketball for the league, right? I ran track. I was a cheerleader. I was in swimming. I was in dance. I did gymnastics, and I played basketball for 2 really strong competitive teams in the 7 cities. And we actually won a state championship game. So I was very involved, and I had a lot of friends, but I also had my own time. And in my own time, it was, talking to Vanessa all day.
Talking to Vanessa. Okay. So when did Vanessa start talking to herself about the importance of financial management and noticing that there was some type of difference in the
Yeah.
process?
So what happened is my mom and I moved to the city of Atlanta, and probably 3 or 4 years after we moved, I was home sitting in my car on Centennial Olympic Park Drive, and it was dark outside. Next thing I know, day turns to night, and there's hail pounding on my car, like the size of my fist.
Right.
There's dark debris blowing in the wind, and my car is literally moving from side to side while I'm sitting in the car. And next thing I know,
a tornado or a hurricane? What was happening?
So next thing I know, the wind speeds burst, car rose off the ground while I'm sitting in my vehicle. And I later found out that I was in the middle of a tornado with wind speeds exceeding 135 miles per hour.
Oh my goodness.
In the city of Atlanta. So one person died, 50 people lost their homes. It destroyed everything from the east and west sides of the city. Businesses were shut down. Streets were closed because skyscrapers were just, glass was just falling. And at the time, I was a student at Savannah State University, a historically Black college, majoring in Homeland Security and Emergency Management.
Wow. Okay. So what did that experience do for you when you survived that experience? That is huge. That is first of all, to know that there are so many people that go through storms. We know hurricane, everything that happens, and the people that are still struggling, those that are here alive, that are still struggling, trying to get some level of normalcy back. For you to make it through that situation, what did it do for you?
Well, number one, from a faith perspective, it taught me that no matter what, you can always talk to God. Because I couldn't pick up my phone and call my mom or my dad, but I could call God. So that was the first thing.
And how do you feel God showed up for you in that moment, in the eye of that storm?
So
that tornado.
What's crazy is I said, Lord, clearly you're upset. I understand. However, can you please put the car down? And literally the car dropped, and it was like nothing ever happened. Like it was so quiet, like you couldn't tell just by the destruction that there was a tornado, but it was so still and so quiet.
Oh my God. Okay.
So that's the first lesson. The second lesson that it taught me was, which is what I use in my profession every day.
Wait, I'm not trying to joke you and God in any way, shape, or form, but the lesson from that, because you said that was the first lesson. So what was the lesson? Was you talked to God like, yo, put the car down. What was the lesson? Cassandra, what was the lesson that you got? I'm gonna have to pull you in because I want to hear what you thought was the lesson. Hold on, unmute yourself. What was the lesson? Was she telling God like?
Well, what I with this, I'm backstage laughing and she's pulling me in like that. No, really, what it's like, God is definitely he hears the voice of his children, and you can talk to him like you would talk to your dad, your physical earthly dad, like, okay, Dad, I know you don't like what I just did, but can you please like bring it down? And that's what you said to God. He was like, God, clearly you're upset, but can you put me down so I can, and it's like, but that's real talk with God to me. So I was chuckling because hey.
Okay, so that's the point you're going to type, is having real. So lesson number one is having real talk
having
with
real
God
talk with
in
God
the middle of a crisis. Put that down. Put that there. Thank you, Cassandra. I'll pop you backstage. I appreciate you.
Call to me and I will answer you.
Okay, so lesson number one in her crisis was having real talk with God. Okay.
Yep, absolutely.
Lesson number two.
Lesson number two was just because it hasn't happened yet does not mean that you should not be prepared for it. And that was the first tornado on record to hit the city of Atlanta.
That's good. That's really good. Just because it hasn't happened yet doesn't mean that it will not happen. Meaning that it will not happen in your life, because it can still happen, is what you're saying.
Right. And that regardless, you should still be prepared. So for example, if the government shuts down for the next 3 or 4 weeks, you financially should still be prepared.
That's right. I agree with you. Okay, so lesson number one, you can have real talk with God at any moment. And we'll put moment, Cassandra, type moment. It's misspelled over there for me. Okay, but at any moment you can have real talk with God. I love it. I love it. Listen, we're talking. I see some comments coming in. I see you, Toya Bailey. You over here in the studio somewhere. Let me see. I know I saw your name. Let me see. Good morning. Good morning to you, Toya Bailey. I know she chimed in today because she's really big into financial management as well. And she's with True Liant Federal Credit Union. Is it okay if I tell your business like that, Toya? I love you, so I'm just giving a shout out to you. So if you ever want to have anybody that you can work with from a credit union perspective, Toya Bailey knows about that financial literacy as well. So glad to have you. Kimberly Fallis, she said, laugh out loud. I'm an only child. She gets it. So she's over there talking to herself too, out loud in the room. Good morning to you, Kimberly. How are you? Oh, well, I'm doing wonderful today. How are you? I promise I could not have envisioned that level of talking to you. And make sure everybody you subscribe to the Kim Jacobs Show. It just takes you a few seconds after the show. All you have to do is go to our YouTube channel and subscribe and turn that notification bell to all, and you'll receive an alert every weekday when we go live at 11 o'clock a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Let's see. Wow. Yes, that's an overwhelming story, her crisis that she experienced. Real talk. That's correct. Hashtag real talk, everybody. Excellent. Yes. She said, yes, it's okay. Kim, stop it. We having our own little girl circle here, right? All right. And listen, y'all, if you want to come on the screen, because this is an option here on the Kim Jacobs Show, all you have to do is use this link that I'll pop right here, and it'll bring you right into the broadcast today. So feel free to do that if you want to come on and ask our guests direct questions head to head, okay? All right, so we're going to take a commercial break, and when we come back, we're going to learn more about Vanessa Mathews, and we're going to go ahead and start deep diving into the topic of managing the racial wealth gap right after this commercial break.
I'm attorney Kenneth D. Snow, and at the Snow Legal Group, justice is our job.
For more than 20 years, Attorney Snow has been fighting for justice and winning cases in the Carolinas by providing aggressive representation in criminal defense, domestic violence, family law, serious injury, and wrongful death. If you've been injured or lost a loved one in an accident, including tractor trailer or rideshare, you need the Snow Legal Group by your side, fighting for justice and fighting for you. Visit snowlegal.com. Call 704-358-0026 for a free virtual consultation. Located at 6827 Fairview Road, Suite D in South Park.
All right, everyone, and we are back with Vanessa Mathews, and I do want to make sure that I put Snow Legal's information up again. Many of you all call me directly and ask questions about the attorney, and attorney Kenneth D. Snow, I do endorse his work and think that he does an excellent job, him and his entire team, and feel comfortable reaching out to them and letting them know that the Kim Jacobs Show sent you their way. 704-358-0026. And you can also email them at info@snowlegal.com. All right. So Vanessa, talk to us about when you realized that there was a divide. There was something happening when it came to having to even bridge that racial wealth gap.
Yeah. So that's a great question. So a part of it stems from how I'm raised and what I know from my own family. And my parents were born in 61 and 64. So if you just, Google American history, it's quite easy to figure out what movement they were born in the midst of and where our country was and what has changed and a lot of what has not changed.
Okay.
So in 2020, I was at home with everybody else, and our business, it's almost like a funeral home, right? When people pass away, funeral homes make money. That's when they are profitable.
Right.
When crisis happens, that's when my business is the most profitable because it starts to make sense and people want to, actually solve for the challenges that they're experiencing.
Right.
So when I was sitting in front of my TV and I watched George Floyd, and I watched a modern day lynching while I was at home and partly depressed from being at home and stuck in the house and not sure what was going to happen with the pandemic. And it really concerned me that we're still here. And it's still
interesting.
It's almost okay in certain industries or verticals or communities And so long story short, I received a phone call from a colleague in the risk and crisis management industry. And she said, are you going to say something? Because you have a podcast, you can say something. And you don't work behind a corporate brand. So if you want to speak about the issues that are happening, you can have the voice to be able to do that.
That's right.
And I said, well, no, I typically don't talk about, social justice issues. But it just bothered me because my husband's Black and my dad's Black and my grandfathers are Black and my nephews are Black and my nieces are Black. And I know what it's like. Like I got pulled over a few weeks ago. I was like, Lord, are they going to shoot me? Am I going to be okay?
That's a horrible thought.
But it's the fact that I even have to think about that.
Right.
That's a concern. So long story short, as I went on the podcast and I titled an episode to my industry, to the risk and crisis management industry, what can you do about racism? Because oftentimes in my profession, we view diversity, equity, and inclusion as that department over there, but it has nothing to do with me because I'm focusing on risk. But in the reality, racial matters, systemic historical racism is a risk to your business.
And now talk about that a little bit more, because I love the direction that you're kind of going in with this. It is a risk to your business to have racial wealth gaps.
So the challenge that our country has, and whatever timeline you want to pick, whether it's the 400 years or 500 years,
right?
The reality is corporations, businesses, and governments contributed to why we are here. Everything that's happening from a systemic perspective, whether it's the transatlantic slave trade to the invention of certain tools that were created to reinforce slave labor, to segregation, to civil rights, to the laws that were passed, corporations, governments, business leaders, people every day contributed to why these things are where they are in this very moment.
Right.
What my perspective was, as I thought about what we do in the risk and crisis management space, was that at the end of the day, when people are at work and you're watching someone get lynched on national TV, and then you have to come back to work and sit in the seat and then strive back into your day and get stuff done and answer calls and answer emails, and people don't acknowledge what just happened. People don't acknowledge what's happening in your community. It impacts your productivity. It impacts your engagement. It impacts the culture, and people are affected. And so what became a reality was that while we were virtual, nobody could hide the fact that racism was still a problem in America. It was on your front TV screen, and there was nothing else to distract you from the reality.
Right, because we're all home in lockdown mode, and so everybody's like the whole world is looking at the TV. So even if we were in the middle of a hustle and a bustle in our day, where maybe you didn't get a chance to catch that news clip or whatever, it may have just kind of brushed past you. But in this case, it's like, no, everyone's home, and all of us are looking, and we're all looking, and what is on this TV? What is happening here? This is real life. This is not a movie that we're watching. This is real life situation unfolding right before our eyes.
Exactly.
Wow. Okay, go ahead.
And so I did the podcast, and it got really great reviews, and but it wasn't the intent of like reviews and likes.
Right. It was just your heart.
It was, I'm exhausted, and I'm not coming to you as the CEO of Asfalis. I'm coming to you as a Black woman that is concerned about where we're going. And I need you to speak up and to say something when things are wrong and when things are not the way that they should be.
Right.
So I did the podcast, and then organizations started asking me to come speak, because my lens is looking at the challenges that we face in our country from a risk and crisis management perspective, because that's my profession.
Right.
And so then I had an opportunity to work with a great organization, Fortune 10 customer, And they are focused on increasing and, quite frankly, doubling the amounts of Blacks in leadership by 2025. Mm-hmm. They've also had a corporate commitment to what they were going to do to focus on systemic racism. And so what we decided to work on together was having a talk about the racial wealth gap and that it is actually a crisis. And so what we did was we paired our crisis management approach and philosophy to racism and systemic inequality, and showed people, how do you leverage skills of crisis management, business continuity, and enterprise risk to solve for this crisis.
And what were some of the findings or some of the results from that?
Well, one of the things that I think is interesting is how much we still don't know.
Interesting.
And in doing my own research to prepare for that talk, to prepare their workforce, there were so many things that I had to learn for the first time or re-educate myself on. Okay. For example, the city of New York. I had no idea how significant racism was in New York in the 1700s.
Oh, so you had to go back and literally re-educate yourself.
Go back.
And I'm sure we've all learned different things along our learning in school, but it's like some of that stuff is just, let me just try to get through this test or whatever for the moment, even if you've been exposed to some of those statistics or historical facts. But when you go back and deep dive on the purpose of what you're going to do now, it's a whole different learning style, right? Because now you're really engaged.
Well, and then you have to manage you, because I had to take the information, but I'm delivering it for a certain purpose to help other individuals to take this information to see how you can help yourself and your corporation,
your company, right?
So I had to be objective, which was hard because it was emotional.
Right, because now you're the same person as I and anyone else that was watching television. We saw what unfolded right before our eyes. Now you're going in to be this non-biased source, but really there is some underlying bias because it impacts you and you feel personally it's impacting your race, you know?
Absolutely.
Wow.
Absolutely. So the story started, I mean, we went all the way back to the 1400s with the cotton gin, the increased labor. And if you really look back at some of those things, what you will find is how plantations ran slaves and people is actually the same system that we have in corporate America to this very day. There's a reason why you report to a manager, to a senior manager, to a director, to a vice president. It wasn't just a good idea that somebody thought about one day. These are things that have transitioned from the plantation.
And so now, how receptive were people to what you were proposing?
So everybody was very receptive, and I think because we were working with the client who has made this a priority.
Okay.
And
so they brought you in for this purpose.
Exactly.
So they're saying, okay, so this is very important to highlight for a second, that there are companies and representatives and corporate CEOs and executives that are not Black, but they're Caucasian or whatever they are in their nationality, that see and recognize that this is a problem.
Exactly.
And so what we need to do is figure out a solution, and who can we connect with? Hence Vanessa Mathews, with being the resilience and crisis management advisor, business leader, and speaker that she is, and catalyst for change. Let's bring her into our organization and talk about this.
Yeah, absolutely.
And they are open to you sharing all of this statistical facts, because when you're talking about slavery and plantations and things like that, when it's, you know, Black folk can relate to you because we Black. I can't act like I'm the other color on this show. I'm a Black lady, right? So I'm here. But when you start talking about, when you start talking this to others that are not in the same mindset of, I want to be go back and see if I can give you some retribution and all of these things. Everybody's not receptive to that.
Yeah.
So I love this. Go ahead.
Yeah. So there's a couple of things. One, that's why they hired me, was the ability to deliver a message objectively, but also deliver. So what's the so what, right? Because the goal was not to regurgitate history. You can open a book and figure that out.
Right.
My goal was to talk about how does this really align to the crisis management approach that we use every day in business, and how can you truly use risk management principles to help solve it? And I think, secondly, I hear people say, well, it's an uncomfortable conversation. Well, uncomfortable for who? Because the reality is you can't walk into a conversation about systemic issues that we're facing as a global society and think that it won't be uncomfortable. That's unrealistic. It should be uncomfortable.
Because it shouldn't happen. That's why it should be uncomfortable, because anything that's been happening and this is Kim talking as a person, y'all, not representing the Kim Jacobs show. And I do see you, Cassandra, backstage. I see you in your legal hat back there. Look, I'm gonna pull you in again. I'm gonna go ahead and give you a heads up. Look at her. She like put that disclaimer up. She's like, put this disclaimer. She was like, the opinions expressed on the Kim Jacobs show are those of the guests and the studio audience. They do not purport or support or reflect always the opinions of the views of Kim Jacobs show or his staff. Okay, well, anyway, this is me, Kim Jacobs. Oh, I'm going to put you backstage again. Sorry. But you're doing amazing back there. And you also, Cassandra's in law school, by the way, just so y'all know. She's in her second year of law school, 51 years old. And am I allowed to yell your age out on the whole show? Okay, for me, I'm 51. I'm happy. I'm honored to be 51. I don't know why people don't want to tell their age. Whatever. Maybe by the time I turn 70 or 75, I'll be like, don't talk about my age. But people can go back to the show and just add it up at that point, and they'll be like, you said you were 51 back in 20. Okay, anyway, thank you, Cassandra. All right. So I, Kim, am in alignment with what you're saying, that it should be an uncomfortable discussion, because until we talk about it and put some parameters and solutions in place, that's the only way we can all get on the same page and be treated fairly as a people, meaning people of any nationality. Doesn't matter whether you're Black, white, Asian, Latino, Mexican, whatever, Vietnamese. None of that matters. You are a human being, and we should all be treated fairly and equally with love and respect and adoration. So
all right. And Kim, I'm married 3 years now. So if I do something to my husband and then I come in the house and I try to act like it didn't happen, guess what? It's going to be an uncomfortable conversation.
He'll be like, I know you used to talking to yourself when you were a child, but there's a whole nother person up in here right now, and it's called your husband. So you're not going to just walk around here and have a conversation in this kitchen, in the living room, and you talking, and Vanessa, we don't like what happened with, what's your husband's name?
Shedrick.
Shedrick. So listen, Vanessa, we don't like what happened with Shedrick today, and Shedrick needs to do better. That's exactly what I was saying, girl. I'm kind of disappointed that he didn't even take me to dinner the way I thought. I got dressed in this dress, and he did not take me to dinner. Well, girl, we're gonna have to talk about this. Shedrick, like, hello. You're back. Anyway, that's what I know I'm being whole silly. Okay, let's see. Toya said, it's funny to me how things change when someone outside of the African-American race recognizes that it needs to change. And she put an emoji like, What are your thoughts about that?
I think it's real. It's why I think that happens is because of influence. And, a part of what we talk about in this racial wealth gap crisis talk is who holds the keys. If you look at television statement or stations, news networks, the top richest people in every state in the United States, if you look at CEOs across the board of the Fortune 500 companies, they have a lot in common. They don't look like me and you.
Wow. This is interesting. So you're saying that there's a direct correlation, and it is facts. So I don't know if you look at different corporate breakdowns and different sectors of the workforce, whether it's Fortune 500, Fortune 10, Fortune whatever, just home base, a lot of businesses that get the funding and different things. There are some direct correlations to our complexion. So what solutions did you all come up with? That's what I want to hear. I'm gonna give you a second to think about it. And right after this commercial break, I want us to talk about that, because there has to be some solutions. If we get on a show, we talk through what the issues and the obstacles are. What can people do that didn't attend your seminar or attend the meeting of the minds with you and the corporate executives from that one company? What can we do as a society to close this racial wealth gap when we come back? Is that fair?
Awesome.
That's like 60 questions, right?
All of them.
You're like, what? I didn't write any of that stuff down. I hope you're going to ask me. All right. When we come back, I'll be sure to ask it in a different way. But anyway, let's learn more about Silver Shield Security now.
It's not just another day. It's a brand new day, full of all the fun, love, and laughter you and your family create. Silver Shield Security understands feeling at home means feeling safe and happy. No credit checks, no contracts. We offer payment arrangements, and we'll even give you a free door camera. Find out how we can brighten your day even more at silvershield-security.com. Silver Shield Security.
Everyone, and we are back with Vanessa Mathews. Now, Vanessa, I asked you 1,000 questions before we went to the break, and I do want to make sure that we get some clarity on what, from your perspective as a catalyst for change, can general people do watching today's episode that would better help us balance our lives? Any of the viewers that's watching, how can we better balance our lives when we're dealing with anything to do with racial wealth disparity?
Absolutely. So what I can do is I can share the steps that I personally took, and then I can share the recommendations that we provided to our customers. So first and foremost, my husband and I have set a goal or have set a vision for our marriage. And our goal is to help to ensure that we change, that we positively change the trajectory of our last name. My personal commitment is for me to leverage my experience in business as well as an entrepreneur to truly help minorities to be a part of the solution for decreasing the wealth gap. Because from an economics perspective, the data is clear that there really is a major gap, and communities across the country, specifically Black communities, need the economic engine to be able to sustain itself in the event that we continue to move forward in the direction that we saw in 2020 and previous years. So that's been my personal commitment. So the first thing is get grounded in your purpose and have a reason and have your own personal why. And so for me, I took my platform, which was my podcast, and I took the Vanessa Mathews brand, and I began to speak about the things that truly keep me up at night, that frustrate me. But I want to channel that energy into the ability to have conversations with people to really affect change.
Wow. Okay. And I know all of your information, anything that you need to know about Vanessa Mathews and where you can follow her on social media, where you can watch her podcast, and every detail is here on her bit.ly link, which is right here. And we're going to put this in the comment section for you as well. It's bit.ly/Vanessa, Mathews. And for those that are the podcast listeners on iHeartRadio and SoundCloud and iTunes and things. Okay. So it's bit.ly/Vanessa Mathews with 1 T, and you'll be able to stay connected with her. Tell us when your podcast takes place. What day is it and time?
Oh my gosh. So it's the Business Resilience Decoded podcast. We do 15-minute episodes, and they actually come out every 2 weeks. So every other Thursday. And we do that in partnership with the Disaster Recovery Journal.
Excellent. So every other Thursday, if you go to this bit.ly link that's here, you will be able to stay connected and be right in your virtual seats whenever the show airs every other Thursday, right on her. It's 15-minute segments and obviously action-packed and power punch. And be like, now go home and start applying this today. It's like now. It's like, yes, I'm going to go save the world now. So you're going to make me start. I already talked to myself, Vanessa, right? I do, but I just
now we made it okay.
Huh?
Now we made it okay.
Right. But now when I leave out of the house today, my neighbor may think I'm talking to her, and she may say, oh, hey, Kim. I'll be like, oh, no, I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to me. I have to have a conversation to get my own mind right. So pay me no mind, neighbors. Carry on. Toodaloo. I'm talking to Kim. I'm having a great time out here. And I want to see how many cars when I'm out walking will be like,
it's okay.
Okay. Vanessa said I can talk to myself all day long. Okay. All right. So let's see. Comments that came in. Let's see. Toya said, just FYI, only 1% of CEOs of Fortune 500 companies are African American.
Yep, absolutely.
And where did you put where you got that source from too, if you don't mind, Toya, because that'd be great for people to be able to go and capture that information. But only 1% of CEOs of Ford. That's really that's discouraging. And so we do have to change some things around as much as we can. Let's see. You are speaking so much truth. But where do we go from here? Will we ever close the gap?
So
I'm just thinking out loud.
Great question. So if you are an individual, for me, I think it boils down to three things. It's your mindset, it's your voice, and then it's your finances.
Mindset, voice, and finances.
Yep.
Break those three down a little bit for us.
Absolutely. So mindset, you have to make a commitment that you want to be a solution to help decreasing this gap. And to your point, we're at the bottom of Mount Everest. So we also have to think about what can we control in our daily lives. So for example, Silver Shield commercial. I live in Charlotte. I hired Silver Shield. I could have went with the majority company, but I did not. We specifically and intentionally hired a minority business to help us manage our home's security system so that we can continue to be a part of the solution, but also put our money where our mouth is. So from a mindset perspective, determine your commitment and set strategic goals.
Well, I'm tagging if I can get. I'm trying to tag Janelle.
Tell her I said hi.
Just got a shout out. Shout out from Asphalis, right?
She knows me as Vanessa Mathews.
Okay, from Vanessa. I'm trying to type what you're saying, but I gotta don't keep talking because I don't like to be looking down on them. Okay, let's see. So we're gonna go back and address that particular one again so that Janelle hears it when she pops on, and we'll put that in the comment section too. But that is important. Putting your money to match what you're saying is important to you, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. And then setting strategic goals. So my husband and I, when we got married, we sat down and said, okay, what are the goals that we have for the next year, 3 years, or 5 years? With every goal, we all know this because we're in business. It has to be a clear target. So what am I measuring? What are the outcomes? And then how am I physically going to do this? And, in a marriage, it takes work, it takes time, it takes effort, but nothing is free. So how are we financially going to hit some of these targets? So we had goals to pay off debt, to invest in real estate, to get a second property, to get a third property, to buy property outside of the state. Set strategic goals for you and your household. What are the ways that we can bring in multiple streams of income to help us with our financials? How do talking to your kids in middle school, elementary school? I was watching a show called Billions, and what was interesting for me was in movies, white families are portrayed to have conversations about financials early at the dinner table, but minority families, and specifically in movies, that's not how they structure, or that's not how they, that's not the perspective that they give you of our households. How early are we talking about finances with our children? I know so many Black families who own 40, 60, 100 acres of land. What conversations are you having with your family about the land? Do you sell it? Do you not sell it? How long are you going to own it? And then if you give it away to your kids, how do you do so in a way that they appreciate what it took? Because that goes right back to the 1400s, what was taken from those families.
Girl, you preach. No wonder you talk to yourself, because you preaching to yourself now. You don't even need you don't even need a congregation. You're just saying, I can have church all by my lonesome self right here. And now you got me. I'm in the audience, and Cassandra back there. She like, yes. Look, I pull you in, Cassandra. Yes. I'm pulling you in automatically. She was doing it. She was praying. Cassandra, you were back there praising the Lord. You were like, yeah.
Amen.
See, people don't get a chance to see the behind the scenes stuff of the Kim Jacobs show. So see, Cassandra, when you're not able to be here, nobody else is going to, they're like, no, we can't help that day because Kim might pull us in. I promise you, I'll try my best not. I'll be good when Cassandra's not here. Okay. So this is good. Because what you're saying is that if this is good. I said, Toya, we said the same thing. This is good.
Yep.
Hashtag education. Okay. Having that mindset. I know I can only speak in my own family. Every week, and sometimes it goes an extra week because we don't always get to do it every single week, but we have a round table discussion, and we bring to the table our resources that we've each gleaned from for the week. And then we share those resources with the rest of the family, so that way because like I may not read every single book that my oldest son reads or my youngest son, but we'll say my one son, he's like, well, I just read this book called The Slight Edge. And what you need to do is you need to be able to just make it a little bit of an edge to, do a little bit better than what you did the day before. And he goes into all of the information from that. And then my other son will read a book and he's like, you need to have a grand offer. And the grand offer needs to consist of XYZ, XYZ, X. And I'm like, oh, well, Lord have mercy, I'm all off. I'm going to put a whole offer out. He was like, do not rush to put your offer out, Mom. You're way off. And I'm like, but I wouldn't know that had I not met with my children to hear their perspective, their take. And then I will be reading a book that I'm training some of the mother dreamers on, like The One Thing. We're going through a training on the one thing and how one domino can actually catapult and knock all of the other dominoes down ultimately, because we only honed in our focus on one thing. And so it's a lot of things that my daughter, she'll share some stuff that she's reading, and she'll like, okay, this is what I'm actually working on. She's on chapter 14 in her book that she's writing, and it's a sci-fi book and this is amazing. It's better. It's gonna be better than like the Maze Runner and stuff. There's some serious stuff. So she'll tell us what she has and some of the characters. I said, well, how many chapters do you want the book to be? She said, oh, Mom, I'm nowhere near done. It's gonna be about 40 or 50 chapters. I'm like, really? She must be up there talking to herself too. She's getting a deep dive. All right, so this is some good stuff that we're hearing. Mindset, talking and having goals, and talking that through with your family. Carry on.
Voice is the second one. So when I delivered this talk to the client, what continuously comes up for this group, and I would extend to say most professionals, if you're really being honest with yourself, is how do you confidently own your seat at the table? And that's something that I struggled with as an entrepreneur, was the head noise between my ears and the stories that I would tell myself. You're not good enough. You're not strong enough. You don't belong here. You're never going to achieve that. It's an uphill battle. You can't solve this particular crisis. And that may be true, but with God, I can do everything. And he's given me resources and people to help us execute. And so with your voice, you have to own your voice. I could have silenced my voice and not gone on that podcast and did a show on what can you do about racism to my industry, because I was afraid. I said, well, what if people won't do business with me anymore? Well, heck, if you want to do business with me because I talk about racism, then guess what? We shouldn't do business together anyway.
It's like, at least on this show, talking about the balance and how people are balancing different aspects of their life. How can anyone that feels like they're being treated unjustly in a racial capacity have an ability to balance anything properly? That's not even possible, because it's like, what are you balancing? Balancing right down there, because that's where you are. And if that's the case, right? But and now not everyone shares in the philosophy of putting the thumb on someone or trying to hold someone down. I have plenty of white friends that do not share in that philosophy, that feel like, listen, I am sorry that this has even happened to anybody of your color or your complexion, and I want to do everything I can to help change it. What can people do that are watching the show that are of other nationalities, and they don't want to be known as the ones that's holding the Black people down?
Well, so what's interesting, the phone call that I received that encouraged me to go on that podcast was a Hispanic female. And when I called my network wasn't all of my Black friends, which there are some, but it was my white friends too. And they were equally as concerned, frustrated, upset as I was. But what I appreciate, and I'm so hurt that George Floyd had to lose his life, but I appreciate that a lot of people that I personally know have not taken that for granted and have been very intentional about true change. I know people in my industry, if you ask them to come speak at a conference and it's no diversity, they will not speak and support your conference. Period. End of story. Go ask someone else.
That's good to know.
And that's how you have to affect change. And so from a voice perspective, the second piece is confidently own your seat at the table, but also impact policies. When you go back and you look at all of the history that has happened over the past, again, whatever your timeline is, 400 or 500 years plus, when you look at what's happening right now with our voting rights, at the end of the day, it's a policy. It is a policy. So you can tweet, you can like on social media, you can protest, and everything has its place and everything has its importance, but policies are what affect change. So I cannot sit in my living room and be on Facebook and be upset at the president of whoever his name is next and not be affecting policies, because you can control that. You just choose not to.
That's good. This is good. I mean, there's so much typing over here. Thank you, Cassandra. This is great. So what I see here is mindset, voice, confidently own your seat at the table, and impact policy. These are comments right from Vanessa Mathews, our guest today, our guest expert here. She said to effect change, you have to impact policy. If you can't just sit and complain about it and then not be willing to do something about it when it's time to take action. This is just incredible. And also to check out her podcast, Cassandra, she popped that in here. So thank you so much, Backstage. Appreciate you. Let's see.
And the last thing I would share is finances. So for us, it was 3 steps. Reduce your debt. Once we reduced our debt, we went and bought debt-free shoes.
You went and bought what?
Debt-free shoes. I'm also a professor at a historically Black college. So I ask my students, what kind of shoes you got on? Nikes, Jordans. How much stock you own in Nike? You are the investor. Now, you don't have to wait. What are you waiting for? So that's number 2, invest. So I am not a financial expert. My husband actually began his career in financial services 3 or 4 years ago. He just learned the stock market through his work. At home, I ask the stupid questions. Honey, what does that mean?
That's
if we invest in X number of shares, what's our return? When do we get it back?
Right.
What's the percentage on that? How does it work? What's the S&P versus the 500 index?
All of that is so important. And he's able to educate you on that?
He's able to educate me, but also to be able to create the space to have the conversation for the things that you don't know. It's okay.
And it's okay to not know what you don't know, but get the answers from somebody that does know it. That's why I'm having you on the show today, to talk to us at this level, to even get our minds churning and our thought process going in the right direction. I see all of you that are on. I'm trying to make sure. Legacy Larry Legend, I see you. I see you, Andrea Belk. I see you, Teresa Long. I see you, Toya, Andrea, all of you guys that are on watching. And I appreciate your support here in the studio audience today. Make sure you all check out the podcast Resilience Decoded with Vanessa Mathews. And she is aspalisadvisors.com/decoded is where you can check out the podcast every other Thursday. Her bit.ly is bit.ly/Vanessa Mathews. And we're so glad to have you here on the show today. Before we get like a closing thought from you, I do want to go and let everybody know that today's episode is also sponsored by Lamb Funeral Home. And Lamb Funeral Home, they are you're talking about like being able to go across the borders, not borders, maybe that's not the right word. Let me not say that. Let me just go to the commercial. Hold on for a second. Lamb Funeral Home, they're in the Concord, North Carolina area, but they service all 50 states. And I'm excited to be able to share with you, if you are dealing with any kind of funeral home situation, funeral regarding a loved one, or anyone that you don't know what's going to happen with COVID and so many people passing away. And it's been some storms have taken people, hurricanes, tornadoes, you name it, natural disasters. Make sure you reach out to Lamb Funeral Home. Their family wants to serve yours. They're in the Concord area, but again, certified in all 50 states. 704-782-3011. They have over 28 years of funeral home experience. And Mr. Terry Lamb is a veteran and knows very well the details, the ins and out, everything you could ever imagine about veteran benefits. He knows it about adult children and what they can receive if their parent is a veteran, and also a spouse that's of a veteran. You want to make sure you reach out to them. They'll talk to you about what to expect, what some of the immediate needs are if you have a family member passing away, and funeral pre-planning, things you can do in advance of any tragedy happening. Okay. 704-782-3011. And please make sure you let them know that the Kim Jacobs Show sent you their way. All right. And so we have our final episode sponsor, and I'm going to share with you who they are, and then we're going to get your closing thoughts. Let's see. Today's episode is also sponsored by attorney Charles Everidge with Hunter Everidge Law Firm. They focus heavily on disability. If there's a wrongful death of a loved one, definitely reach out to them. If you're dealing with SSI, supplemental insurance, or workers' comp, 704-377-9157 or hunter-everidge.com. And here's their commercial, and we'll come back and hear our closing comments from Vanessa. I told you this hour would go fast, didn't I?
Yes, you did.
It went fast, right? But it's fun. We talked, we laughed, we learned. So it's a lot of stuff. Oh, laughing and learning. That's good. Yeah. I'm talking to myself over here, Vanessa. All right, here we go.
I'm attorney Charles Everidge. I started out representing insurance companies until my father was seriously injured at work. 4 of his fingers were amputated. Our family went through a lot, so I know what you're going through as an injured worker. If you've been hurt on the job, call me now. I'll fight to get the workers' comp benefits you may deserve. I'll fight for you like family. Put my experience to work for you. Call 704-457-5000, the first call for injured workers.
And we are back with Vanessa Mathews. Tell us your closing comment, Vanessa.
Well, one, I want to say thank you to you for inviting me here to have this conversation. Secondly, thank you for allowing me to share my story and where my passion comes from, and why I think this is so important. And lastly, for everybody that's out there listening, no matter your background, where you come from, where you're born, your socioeconomic status, my last remark is actually a quote that I got reading a book by Elsie Cross. And her comment was, "Oppression is neither random nor unintentional." And so as I think about that, the response to oppression cannot be random or unintentional.
Oh, wow.
It has to be strategic. It has to be well thought out. It has to be intentional. And so if there's anything that I've shared today that you all may want to have a second conversation about, or dive more into, or understand how we align these things to the profession of crisis management, Kim has done a great job in sharing my contact information. I look forward to being able to keep in touch.
Wow. I think that when you say keep in touch, because I do want to make sure I understand, can general public people just call you and have conversations, or is it that you want people to connect with you for speaking engagements? In what capacity? Explain more.
That's a great question. So if you want to just follow me on social media and to know that we're connected, and for me to see you and you to see me, at Vanessa V Mathews with 1 T on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, as well as on LinkedIn. If you want to have an intentional conversation about reducing the racial wealth gap crisis or other things in the crisis management profession.
What is it again? I want to make sure I put that one more time. At what?
At Vanessa V Mathews with 1 T. Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn.
On all social media. Okay. I'm saving that because I do think that not everybody's going to click on the bit.ly link per se, but here at Vanessa V is in Victor Mathews with 1 T on all social media. You can follow her today. You can DM her. You can messenger her. Yeah. And just, I mean, she's passionate about this. So she's eager to talk to you. It's not like she's not willing to talk to you about it. So make sure that you stay connected with her. And also, I will let you all know that, and I'm just going to share this with you briefly, but you can go back and I'll put the link. I'm going to put the whole link right here in the comment section so that you'll be able to know about it as well. But there's a story on our family that is on WCNC. It aired yesterday. And I'll see if I can just at least show you what it looked like. But I'm going to put the link in the comment section. And you'll be able to go back and watch it. And I'm also going to post it on Facebook in a few minutes. But I just want to at least take you over to the screen. It's regarding our son, Gabriel Michael Jacobs. And when he passed away, we obviously didn't even know that he had a heart defect. So this story that you'll see, and I'll put it in the comment section for you, you'll be able to learn more about our family and what's happened since Gabriel passed away and how it's impacted our children, 3 of which have cystic fibrosis. And so we're spreading awareness about how Gabe's life has impacted and changed their lives. And it's some pretty amazing information that they share, because it's literally a story to continue with what Pride Magazine did on our family pertaining to hope and resilience. We'll put those links in here for you to be able to go back and watch them. All right. So that's today's episode. Vanessa, you are a wealth of knowledge and information and a true blessing to the world. You and your silent self over there, your other person that walks alongside you.
Talk to yourself.
You are a true blessing, and I'm glad to have you today. All right. So anybody, I don't want to miss anybody's comment. We're getting ready to close out. Yes, she said, you dropped the mic. Continue to be a voice, Vanessa. Continue to be a voice. And we love you and support you and excited about your voice. And glad that you came on to the Kim Jacobs Show today. We love to have you back as well. Okay. All right. With that said, everybody, we're going to go ahead. And I know Cassandra's like, please, can you just close out on time? One day of your life. Let me see. I'm pulling you in. I'm pulling you in. Let me see what your face doing. I see. I knew you were hoping I would close on time, right? You're muted anyway.
Only you can hear Israel in the background. He has a class at 12:15. So,
all right. But I appreciate everything that you do. All right. God bless you.
Enjoyed you, Vanessa.
Thank you so much.
The silent Vanessa. Yeah.
All right. You can pop off, Cassandra. Have a great one. Thank you for
bye.
everything you do. Bye, Israel. Bye-bye. All right. So, Vanessa, thank you for being on today. Wonderful blessing you are. And I think I got through a lot of the comments. If people will continue to leave comments, so please maybe go back and check the social media, because I'm sure people are going to share this as a replay and they'll be watching it throughout the day. So please make sure you give people a chance to hear your perspective and response to their comments. Okay.
Will do. Thank you.
All right, everybody. Stay backstage. I want to say one thing to you, but we're going to go ahead and go. Tune in tomorrow. There's going to be a graduation right here on the Kim Jacobs Show, because we have students that go through our masterclass and we teach them how to start their own show from scratch. Everything you need to know from A to Z. The 13 years of experience that I've had being at the old Jim and Tammy Faye Baker studio, being on PBS, working as a balance expert with WCNC, and all of these different hats that I've worn, I pour it into them from A to Z. So tomorrow we're going to have some graduates that will go be birthed out right here on the Kim Jacobs Show. And then Thursday we have a special guest, and she has a story to tell. You're not going to want to miss her story. So see you all on is that you typing, Vanessa? Or is that your friend that walks around with you? That's you for real? What I mean is you. It's you. Both of them are you. Now, like Sybil, both of them are you. I know it's you. Thank you so much, Vanessa. I have had a ball today, and I've learned quite a bit. Have a great day, everybody, and I will see you all tomorrow at 11 o'clock a.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on the Kim Jacobs Show. Hello, everyone. everyone. I'm Kim Jacobs, host of The Kim Jacobs Show, where we're bringing balance to the world, one household at a time. Listen, we go live every weekday, Monday through Friday at 11 o'clock a.m. Eastern Standard Time. I bring guests on that talk about their backstories, things that they've had to overcome to become who they are today. Many of them are balancing and juggling life, and they've become experts in different fields. So they're sharing tips with you to make your life just a little bit easier. Many times as a guest in the studio audience, you'll get a chance to walk away with a missing piece of the puzzle that might be missing in your life. Let's go on this journey together, and I look forward to seeing you Monday through Friday at 11 o'clock a.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on The Kim Jacobs Show.